All right, here's the Quora questions as promised. I couldn't get to them last night. Hopefully this is going. I think it's going. Are you going? Yeah, you know, one of these days I'm gonna figure out how to do like a pre-test hangout and stuff, but I just don't trust. You know, we're using reroute to get from Reaper to the Restream, and oh yeah, that's right. Vern says he's going to help me with Restream tomorrow, maybe. So that would be awesome. So let me just check and make sure the audio is coming through. Sounds good to me. Okay, so I can take off these headphones. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it sounds good. I don't know. Sorry, Restream chat. Sorry, I should have done all this. I'm getting better at this. Hopefully, one of these days I'll be able to actually get this going pretty quickly. Okay. Stream. So let's see. Is it worth it to get a pop filter for my microphone, and what exactly does it do? In this this mic I'm talking to you right now, I'm actually using an MXL V67G. Talking right now. One of my brother's friends gave this to me. This is really a blingy mic, man. It's got like a gold colored grill and a beautiful, you know how much I love turquoise body. It's a cardioid only mic. I don't think it has any pad switches or anything like that, but man, it's a nice looking mic, and it seems to be working pretty good. It's at least got a lot of sensitivity. I saw some reviews on it. Anyway, I'm not using a pop filter on this right now, and you can probably hear that. I am using a little piece of foam that doesn't quite cover the whole thing, and I actually need to order. I need to order that. Remind me to order the damn foam. In fact, let me just type that down right now. I'm going to email myself. Sorry about that. Order mic foam. Wasn't you supposed to tell me to order something last night too? E67 KSMs. Okay. Yeah, what else was I supposed to order? Now I forget. Anyway, so I'm not using a pop filter, but I am using one of these little foam windscreens. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to say I popped over to the best bakery. How about that? So I've got the little foam piece off. This doesn't quite cover the whole thing, but I'm going to put it back on. So I popped over to the best bakery. Pop filters should knock out some of the plosives, the really explosive wind noise that's going to go P's and T's and B's. You kind of, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can fix with electronics, but I'm not going to say you can't, but I'm going to say I can't necessarily fix plosives later on with the plugins or with signal processing of some sort. Getting rid of that air before it gets to your capsule is a good thing. And that's really the job of the pop filter. And there's several different ways. People will argue about them and tell you how much they destroy your sound and stuff. But in general, there's pop filters that cover the microphone like you see on the SM7s all the time. There's pop filters that are on a stand. In fact, I've got one. Let me go grab it. So I have a plastic mesh pop filter. I'm going to take off the little foam thing again on this mic. I'm sorry, it's going to sound like crunch, crunch, crunch. But so now I'm putting this metal pop screen in front of it. And it really depends how far away you are, whether the stand-mounted screens really work. I see Vern Grainer using something on the AT2020. It's like a little round windscreen that goes around it. That looks pretty good. And man, you cannot argue with the sounds he gets out of those microphones, especially live with, you know, variable guests, and you never know where they're going to be. But this is me using the metal pop screen. I am about one shaka away from the mic. That's usually how I measure these things. And so let's see this again. I popped over to the best bakery. So that's with the a stand mounted. This is kind of a mesh one. This isn't really a good one. I like the ones with the dual cloth on both sides. So I'm going to put this pop filter back on. Some mics have internal windscreens that help a lot, like the SM58, for instance, but you can still get a lot better sound off a pop filter. You can end some problems that you might be having later on with one of these pop filters. Anyway, let's put it that way. So yeah, it's worth it to get a pop filter. You don't have to get $1 billion ones. I see these crazy money pop filters. If you can get a nylon mesh pop filter or make your own, a lot of people make them out of coat hangers and pantyhose. But I guarantee there's something cheap. I'm just going to pop up Amazon. I don't have an affiliate link on this, unfortunately. So let's see. I see a Zac Sound 6 inches round windscreen shield pop filter with stand clip for $595. Okay, I do want to show something about it. And this kind of doesn't matter how much you pay for these. A lot of them will have the same problem. For anybody who's watching, oh wow, see look at that. There's a SM7 one. This is the one that Vern uses. It's like a U-shaped one. Works really good. AT2020 phone. Wow, man, there's so many of these. And there's this company Neewer. I think that's what they call. I'm using one of their desk clamp mic stands right now. They have what looks like a dual nylon pop shield. I think it is. Let's see. Double layer netted gauze for, yep, this one looks good. Okay, but the problem is the actual part that clamps it onto the mic stand, it's made out of a bent piece of metal. And sometimes these things just end up bending. And you just, no matter what you do, they just keep bending. You might end up going to the hardware store and getting a clamp. There's a lot of MacGyver solutions you can use to keep these things working. But there are some brands of mic pop filters that have much better. Oh man, why are you showing me this? There's some brands that have like a squared off. Yeah, here's one. Alphonics. Okay, so I'm looking at one that has more of a squared shape. That's probably going to work better. It's not as easy to clamp on though. So there are ones that use actually like machined metal. They're a lot more money. But this is only really if you're going to have this problem. So, but I really like these like C or U-shaped versions. They won't work on all mics. But generally on a side address mic, these would be a great thing. Vern Grainer has done amazing things with these pop filters. If you go and watch any of his shows, he's just taken. I don't even know what it is. I think it's like a $40 or $50 mic. These what do you call them? Audio-Technica AT2020s. And hey, John. They he gets the greatest sound out of them. Off axis, guitars, whatever, just sitting in on the desktop on the table where all the guests are chatting. And he uses these mic windscreens and they do fine. So I'm assuming that's the way to go. I think they might actually come with the 2020s, but I see a bunch of them on Amazon for around $10 or on up. I don't know if they make them in nylon. They all seem to be like hard plastic mesh or metal mesh. I'm not sure that matters that much, but go check them out. But yeah, it's a good idea to have a pop filter. You don't have to use it. You can always take it off. I always look at these kind of things like Venn diagrams where I'm going to have a circle and it'll have what I can do with something and what I can do without something. And in this Venn diagram, when it comes to pop filters, you can always take it away. So the what you can do without it is completely encapsulated into the what you can do with it. Okay. Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of animals here. So here's the next one. I use a USB mic. What would be the best budget audio interface for recording primarily instruments? This is where you get nailed. Now, you guys on Macs are going to say that you can make, what do you call amalgamated drivers? What do you call those? Where you stick all the drivers together into one audio interface. Again, we're not going to have this argument again, but those are going to be using your generic, what do you call the class compliant drivers or whatever. That's not going to be your high performance, low latency drivers. In some audio interfaces, maybe that's all you get. And again, that's why I would be using Windows for this rather than OS X. But that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, you will not nicely be able to add your USB microphone to another audio interface. You're definitely not going to do it under ASIO. I guess you could do it under ASIO for all, but that's not the same thing. So really, if you have a USB mic and it doesn't have also an XLR out, like many of them do actually, and if you're in the market for a USB mic, buy one that also has an XLR out. You're gonna thank yourself later on. You really got to make a choice. Do you want the USB mic or do you want more inputs for other instruments? And sad as that sounds, that's kind of the answer. So pick an interface with as many inputs as you think you're going to need in the configuration you need. Whether, a lot of them will have a lot of inputs but no mic preamps or whatever. Get what you need. And if that USB mic doesn't have an XLR out, that USB mic should probably be moved to your gaming room and be used for your gaming mic, or if you have a friend that does MLM scams, I guess they could use that for their live streams or whatever. Not that I recommend anybody doing MLM scams. So yeah, get an interface, get microphones with actual analog audio outputs on them. And the best budget interface, I would go to my round trip latency roundup. You can just type that in Google, and you can look at which drivers. It's just comparing the actual round trip latency, the time between when you make a sound and when you're going to hear it out your speakers of different audio interfaces. And in general, the lower that number, the faster that it happens, first of all, the less latency you're going to deal with, which is a very big deal for some people, but not everybody. But they tend to use a lot less CPU for the better drivers, even though they're faster. And they tend to crash a lot less, and they tend to just have better low latency performance. If you go to DAW Bench, DAW Bench, just type that in, Vin Kergliano, I think is his name, has done tests of, how many of a specific instance of a plugin can you run on these different audio interfaces, and you'll see where these things really shake out. And the better ones can do a lot more. It's not just a little bit. And they're not necessarily that much more expensive. At the top of the pile is always going to be RME, at least so far. But for budgets, I don't know RME so much of a budget. In general, you can get away with. I'm running through Focusrite Scarlett Solo right now. I only need one mic input and maybe one guitar input right now. They have bigger ones, two i2s that have two mic inputs and two guitar inputs, or two discrete inputs anyway, and both have mic preamps if you need. There's bigger ones than that. Focusrite drivers tend to be okay, the USB ones. You can check my round trip latency roundup. I actually need to do an update because I got a Gen 3 Scarlett Solo, I think, and these numbers might need to be updated. I'll do that as soon as I can. For more inputs, there's the PreSonus stuff. That's also good budget gear. Surprisingly, the Behringer stuff, I know people are going to give me crap about it, but if you go and check my chart, remember a lot of these brands, from Behringer to SSL, they use the same drivers, and that's from a company called the Sycon, the Sycon.de. They also make a round trip latency checker that I use. They make okay drivers. They're not as good as the RME ones, but they're good. And so the Behringers are cheap. The HDs, make sure you get a Behringer that has an actual ASIO driver. And that's I think the lowest unit on there is the 204 HD. There's like a UMC 22 or something like that doesn't have an ASIO driver. Don't get that. I know it's $20 cheaper or whatever. It's not worth it. Don't get that. Get one with an actual ASIO driver. Look on their downloads page and make sure it has one, or message me or message somebody else that actually knows what this stuff is. those are excellent budget devices. If you need a lot of inputs, $500 will buy you one of those X-Air 18s, and that's got 16 mic preamps and another 2 line inputs. And it's using the Sycon drivers. And a lot of people do just fine on those. The SSL's got them, the Audience got them. And that's how that would be your budget audio interface. Any of these, any of these things, they're not going to be very much until you get into things like, and I don't think it's worth it. I definitely don't think the Antelope audio stuff is worth it. I think that is nonsense. They make a lot of claims about clocks and other magical stuff that I don't think will hold up. But and the UAD, me and Universal Audio don't have the best relationship, and I don't really see any reason to pay that kind of money for these things when an RME will absolutely smoke them. So anyway, looks like I lost my stream, so goodbye.